Hey guys, welcome to Build and Chat. Today, this is our last Saturday in February, last Saturday of mini month, and we're going to be doing some painting an Ankheg, this Reaper Bones Ankheg. As you can see, well, I hope you can see, I've already done a base coat. There's just nothing fancy. I just did a straight base coat of this Vallejo Monocolor Flat Brown. That's all that's on here. Just two quick coats of that, because it takes a while to coat this whole thing, and I really want to get into something more fun than watching me paint brown on a mini. So I just did that. All right, so we're gonna few things to go over before we get started painting. First off, if the music's too loud, let me know. I'm trying to get the levels set, but it's hard for me to tell on this side. Secondly, I got my new Raphael brush. It's a Raphael 8404 number 2. The same one that I've been having problems with, but I ordered this one from Dick Blick, which is an online art supply store that specializes in art supply. This one I have not been having problems with. I've been painting with it. I got it on Thursday, and I've spent quite a few hours painting with it since then, and I haven't had that forking problem. Hey, this is a kid's show. Wait, no, it's not. What? Huh? Anyway, this one's been doing a lot better. So I think the problem I was having with my other one is specifically due to the way that it was being stored by Amazon. So just bear in mind that if you're going to order these brushes, if you order them from Amazon, I think you're trying to hit an AC20. Honestly, I think that's what you're doing, with no to hit bonuses. So I would order them from some place like Dick Blick that specializes in art supply. I think you're going to have a lot better luck. The prices aren't very different at all. So if you're going to spend this much on a brush, get it from somewhere where the brush is going to be okay when you get it. Anyway, so we're here with our Raphael number 2 8404. This is primarily all I use. I don't really see a reason to other than dry brushing, and then I'm using my other Raphael now as a backup brush for metallics, because I don't want to put metallics on my good brushes because the metallic flakes chew up the hairs and ruin the brush faster. So this is going to be my primary brush. My other one that has the problems is going to be my metallics brush. And then I've got a dry brush that is an old beat up flat brush for dry brushing, because that really eats up a brush, so you don't want to dry brush with these. I also bought a wet palette. This is one of the Masterson Stay Wet palettes, and I bought one that's probably a little too big for my space. But you know what? It's fine, chat. It's fine, chat. I like it. I'm liking it so far. So, because I needed something a lot bigger than this one that I made. It was just, there wasn't enough room to do anything in for me. So, what we're going to be doing today primarily is practice a technique called layering, or at least my understanding of layering. So here's what layering is all about. Layering is one of the first techniques you'll get into. It's one of the most common techniques after just blocking out base coating and throwing a wash on. Once you get past that stage and you're comfortable with that, then you'll probably get into layering. And what that is just using thinned down paints to build up gradients of color. So basically what you're trying to do is blend color together. So because of the way Ankhegs are, the way this model is, and the way the colors on these things are, we're going to be doing a lot of layering in here. So I figured that would be a good technique to focus on. Now, one of the issues is, if we look at some reference photos of these very, very real things, you'll see that they're very, very brown. There's a whole lot of brown in these things. So I don't want to just leave it brown, I want to bring some color in. So what's going to happen, here's the plan. The back is primarily going to be browns and tans, this armor plate layer. And then I'm going to bring color in on the belly layer. Not bright colors, but some color. And then we may use a bit of color around his head because that's where we want to focus on. So we'll be layering in colors so that it's not real stark contrasts and stuff. But we do want something more than just browns and tans. Otherwise, this thing is no fun to look at. So what we're going to do first is we're going to start layering the back here. I'm going to make sure there's a little white spot here. Apparently I missed this little area right back here. So why can't I get it? Hello. And that's something you want to do after your base coat dries. Make sure you turn your model all different ways to make sure you haven't missed any spots, and do whatever touch-ups are necessary. Because you don't want the white stuff showing through. Also, make very sure that you scrub the models with a toothbrush and some warm soapy water before you start painting, to get rid of all the chemicals and release agents that are on there from the casting process. Otherwise, you'll just get the paint separating off of the stuff, and it's no fun. All right. So, just making sure I don't have any little bits that need touching up here before we get started with the layering. Now, layering is actually a really simple concept. Very, very simple. The hard part about it is figuring out how to mix your colors down, how much of a difference you want, and what level of thin you want your paints. So then you also have issues of you know, like tide marks and stuff, depending on how you thin things. So, hey Sid, how you doing? So, what we're gonna do is we're gonna start mixing. We're gonna work on the back of this thing. Good day. Awesome. So we're going to use this flat brown that I've got here, and we're going to mix it down with some, let's see, what do I want? Yeah, ochre brown. All right, so we're going to use this ochre brown. Lurking today. Awesome. Lurk away, my dear. I'm just mixing paints and throwing paints on models. We're just doing layering mostly today, so. All right, so we're gonna want to water this down, and I'm gonna mix this into the brown, and we're gonna start working towards this color at the base of these. Hey, Ligor Mortis, how you doing today, sir? Make me some food, will you? I haven't had breakfast yet. Send me some. Alright, so we're going to go about a 50-50 mix with those, and I want it fairly watered down. I don't know if you can see, but there's a little bit here that's not dry. Right here, where I was touching up. So, we're going to want it to dry before we get... because we don't want to do wet blending here. We also don't want... though we want it watered down, we don't want our brushes... shabawy. What? Oh. Okay, I have no idea what that is, but I'd like to learn. Good sir. When you have time to teach me. That sounds like something really interesting. I guess it's what, closing in on dinner time over there where you are? where I'm just past breakfast here, which I didn't. Well, I had a banana this morning, but not much. Anyway, when you get the paint on and you're thinning it down this much, you want to just do a tap on here to make sure you don't have a lot of bleed, because you don't want the paint running all over the place. So what we're going to do with layering is, first I'm going to get in frame here and take off my glasses so I can see. We're going to start putting the paint on thinly, starting with a large area, and then we'll get further and further, or smaller and smaller areas as we get lighter and lighter color and build the color up. So what that's going to do is it's going to give us kind of a gradient up to the main color. So you can see I'm covering most of this, and it's pretty thin paint, so it's fairly translucent, and I'm just kind of leaving where the separations are for the plates unpainted. So this is a technique that you'll want to get comfortable with, and I'm still practicing it, but this is one of the techniques you're going to use the most if you're going to do anything more than just base coat and wash. You can see there's not a whole lot of paint, a whole lot of pigment going on. It'll build up as we do more layers, but you want it pretty thin when you're doing this stuff. You also want to pull the pigment towards where you want the lightest parts to be, because that's where the pigment is going to show up the most, is where your brush lifts. And we don't want to forget to do underneath. Now, a couple things about when you're layering. If you just use tap water, as I'm doing, you can expect to have things called tide marks, which is where the minerals in the water kind of pool up at the edge of your paint. So, to combat that, you can do things like, if you have a lot of minerals in your water, tap water, use purified water of some sort, bottled water. Well, regular bottled water isn't really purified, but you can get, I forget what they call it, but distilled water. So it's got no impurities in it. You can also do things like, instead of using water, use glazing medium to thin the paints, because it's the actual latex medium, so it won't cause the tide marks like the other will. So that's something you can do. I'm not terribly worried about it here, because on browns it doesn't tend to show up nearly as much. If you're doing like whites or light colors, tide marks can get really bad. So we're primarily just going to focus on the back plates for a while. I'm not going to try to do a lot of the other stuff yet. Because when you're doing real thin layers like this, they dry pretty quick, and we've got a fairly large model, so we can move up the model pretty well. B, I want to make sure that we have enough time to get through at least one set of layering and see how this comes out before I get too much into other stuff and we run out of time. So that's where I'm coming from here. You got it, chat? You got that, chat? Okay, so we're still about a 50-50 mix. And pretty watered down. See, so to give you an idea, not a lot of pigment going on. I guess we want to get this one too. Don't we? Now, the trick with layering is, so you can see this is going to take a while doing it this thin, but the result will be a much smoother blend. So one of the things you have to figure out is the more you thin your paint, the smoother the blend will be, but the longer it'll take. So that's the trade-off. So I'm on this second layer here. You can see it's lightening things up and it's getting more towards the color. And I'm starting a little bit further away from the deep recess. So the area I'm covering is getting smaller and smaller. And it eventually will just get to kind of the edge. And so you'll have this very gradual step up of color. This plate down here is kind of in a weird spot. Hard to get smooth strokes down here because of all the rocks and stuff around it. So you have to learn how to deal with that stuff too. Now, I've seen some, like, professional painters, you know, the Golden Demon dudes, that will do this so thin and so gradual that you can barely see paint going on. since we're doing just they get really smooth transitions. But since we're just doing tabletop quality here, we don't need to go quite that far. Now this is pretty thin even for tabletop quality. I'm doing way more layers here, way thinner than most people would, but it's because I want to practice this technique and try to get it smoother than I have before. So I'm trying to step up a little bit. And see how it works out. You guys will have to let me know how it works out. So Wind and Fire and I have, for a long time, enjoyed playing Sniper Elite 4 together. Really like that game as a multiplayer. And we have a lot of fun with it, but we were kind of getting bored with it because we've done the campaign and all the DLC maps several times, and on the hardest levels and all the realism and stuff. So we looked for other multiplayer games, and not like massively, not like WoW. I mean, we play WoW and Ark with some folks too, but we were looking for this, just a good 2-player shoot 'em up game. So we're trying Far Cry 5. We started playing that a little bit yesterday. So far, that seems to be pretty entertaining. And I had played in the past Borderlands 2. And I hadn't played all the way through, but I'd played a good bit of it. And found out that you could do that multiplayer. So we're going to try that out too. See how it goes. Anybody have any experience with either of those games? Alright, so we're going to let this dry up a little bit, and then we're going to move the color down a little more. And what I'm going to... So we're going to kind of go with the straight ochre, and then I'm going to start transitioning into something like this dirty bone. More of a tan beige color. I don't want it to go too light, but I want to get it down lighter than this ochre. I still want this kind of yellowish tint to it though. So I think we're going to go down to, yeah, this dirty bone is probably going to be the next step there. But we still got a couple more layers to do with kind of this ochre here. So we're going to get it nice and watered down. So this is just that straight brown ochre. What's it called? Ochre brown. So we're going to try going down to this color. Still pretty thin. Too much water on my brush. I'm gonna lighten up this whole thing up here a little bit more, I think, because it doesn't have a plate sitting over it, and because I want to bring a little lighter colors into the front area to focus the face a little more. So I'll use that excuse. How's that sound, chat? Does that work? So, I mean, it's smooth enough. It's kind of a weird color. And because there's so much detail in this stuff, it's doing some weird things right now. But don't worry. We'll be fixing that up. Because we are going to do a wash over this. Because there's so much texture in these plates. We want to bring that out, so we're going to do a wash. That'll also help kind of blend the colors together a little more. Because it's looking a little weird. But never fear. So the belly, I'm thinking, because this is kind of a yellowish brown, so there's going to be lots of kind of yellow tones on the back. I'm thinking the belly, I may want to go with like a reddish brown and get more red tones in there on the belly. I just think that might be good. Am I keeping this thing pretty much in frame there, chat? I don't know. This painting minis on camera, man, I am having such a time with this. It's rough, let me tell you. So I think that's coming pretty good. Yellows are hard to... Yellows and reds are like really hard to do right. Because I'm sure there's big scientific explanations, but basically the pigments don't cover as well. So when you thin them down, it gets kind of weird, but it just takes a little more time. Alright, so now we're going to try working our way down... Nope, I've already got it out. Yeah, to this dirty bone. And we're going to see how that looks. So, again, I'm going to mix it about 50-50, because I still want this yellow tint in here. I need a little more of that. Maybe not that much, but it's fine. It's fine, chat. So I'm trying to get the colors kind of smooth. So I don't want to jump colors too far all at once. But you don't, I mean, at this level of painting, you don't want to go too slowly with the colors, or you'll be here all day doing this. And I'm already probably spending more time than I should, but I don't care. I mean, should is a relative term. Now, this is, I've probably gone a little thick with this here, which is okay, but I want to thin it out a little bit more. Yeah, that's probably better. So you can see with each color, with each layer, just starting closer and closer to the edge so that I leave more dark behind. And it makes a nice gradient of color. Except up here where I got a little too thick. Now it's okay to do it like that. It'll step up the color a little quicker so you don't thin the paints quite as much. But that's not quite what I was going for, so we're going to blend this in a little more. Now, I do want these top ones a little lighter than down here, so it's fine, chat. The good news is we're getting towards the last layer of this probably before we start doing some washing. And then we'll have to highlight back up a little more, but not much. Not like this. Okay, so I want to get this up front a little lighter here on the edge, because this is kind of an arrow that points to the face. So alright, so now we're just going to go straight to this tan, this bone color. Get it pretty watered down, and we're going to go just on the edges here. I'm mixing a little bit of this yellow, but just a touch, just to give it kind of a yellow tinge, because I don't want it to get too far away from the yellow. And I think that's as far as I want to go with the color shift there. But I think that's pretty decent. Got to do the underside though. Okay, so at this point, we want to let that dry pretty good. And we're going to get some sepia wash. And we're going to wash that down. Not going to go nuts with the wash, but we're going to wash that down so that it kind of blends the colors together a little better. I don't want to do black wash, but I want to do a sepia because, A, there's a lot of texture in these plates. They're not smooth. So I want to kind of deepen those shadows there, and I want to blend the colors together a little bit. Then we're going to highlight back up a little bit more from that. Just want to make sure these colors are good and dry before we put a wash on them. We got my buddy Lambo here today. I'm just about to pour this wash on the Mini. That would be dumb. Wrong with me. Why you let me do that, chat? Alright, so this is just a sepia wash. And it's pretty much... Is this the one? Oh. There we go. So it's this Daler Rowney sepia ink with some matte medium and some water and some flow aid mixed together in proportions. That's what this is. So we're just going to kind of paint over all of this because it'll flow down into the cracks, it'll give us some shade, and it'll kind of blend the colors together a little bit more. Now it's going to dull the colors down some right now, but we'll highlight back up again after this. Now we want to be kind of controlled with the wash. We don't want to go nuts and just slop it everywhere. But we don't have to be too careful on this because we are trying to get it all over. We just don't want huge pools anywhere. Like here. Now, a lot of painters will use a different brush for the washes, but I don't really see a need to. This brush is in my hand, so I'll just use it for the wash. I mean, the wash isn't going to hurt it any more than paint would, so... Okay, so make sure we don't have huge pools anywhere. We don't want that. I mean, it's supposed to pool, but we don't want huge pools of it. So you can see it's kind of dulled the colors down, but it's kind of blended them together better. It'll do a little more when once it dries, but All right, so while we're waiting for the wash to dry, we're going to move on to other areas. So I think I'm going to start working on this belly area, and we're going to go with more of a reddish brown. So we're going to start with our same flat brown base. But we want to get reds in here. So, let's see. Nope. Oh, this might be good. This auburn shadow, because that's a reddish brown. It's fairly dark. I may just be able to go straight with this instead of putting brown on it. Let's see how that looks. Shall we, chat? So we'll try to base it kind of with this. I'm going to leave that out because I'm going to want to use that to mix down. So we're going to go kind of thin. And this is the part that beginners like me seem to have the biggest trouble with, is figuring out how much to mix, how much to water down your paint. I mean, you know that you always want to water it down some, but how much? So that's the thing that I still practice with. I mean, I think I'm getting better at it, but it ain't easy. And there's no set thing. It's A, how do you like to do it? And B, what do you know, is it a base coat? Going to be thicker than layering, so you got to know the difference between those. So I'm going over pretty much all of this with this auburn highlight color. Because it's a very, very reddish brown. It's pretty dark, so I'm using that as kind of a base for these plates. Now we could have done all this the same as the back, but I just want to bring some color into it. Know what I'm saying, chat? You know what I'm saying, chat. So we want to keep kind of the same base color all around, but we want to bring different tones into different areas. So we've got yellows on the back, we're bringing reds up to the front. Just in the belly. Now we're going to want to bring some of those yellows forward so that this isn't unbalanced, but you know, one bit at a time here. I probably should have filled that gap. That's a pretty big gap, but we're doing tabletop quality here, not competition quality, so it's fine, chat. Do our best tabletop quality, but we're not going to freak out if it doesn't work the way we want it to. Right? Right. We just do our thing and continue on. All right. Now I think while we bring the reds up there, I'm going to want to make the legs fairly light. I don't know if I want to continue. No, I think I want to bring the yellows around there from here. So I may just go straight to this ochre brown, ochre brown, whichever, you know what I'm saying, chat. So I'm gonna, that's kind of thin for a base coat, but it's fine, chat. It's also kind of a yellow, so yellows are kind of a butt. So listen, next week I was planning on getting back to some terrain, since, I mean, you know, it's right in my name and all. So I was thinking about doing like some a little bit different style of foam, EPS foam, little like farmhouse. But I'm going to work on drawing in the details rather than building up the details, because it's a different style of foam construction that I saw, and I was interested to try it out. Now I also have many more minis. Look here, chat. This is just one drawer of quite a few that I've still got to paint yet, so plenty of minis to paint too. So you guys got to let me know what you want to see. More mini painting, more terrain, more both. Alternating projects. Do a week or two of terrain and then a week or two of mini painting. Am I liking that color up there for those legs? I don't know. I'm just, at this point, I'm trying to kind of block out a color plan here. And see what I like. Man, this brush is much better than the one I got from Amazon. Half an hour of painting, and that one from Amazon would just, bristles would just fray all over the place, and it would completely fork. That brush was forked, y'all. And that seemed to be, as I was reading reviews on the Amazon brushes, that seemed to be a common problem with almost every good brush that you order, because I guess because of how they store them in the warehouse and stuff, they don't really care about how you're supposed to store brushes, and they don't store them in climate controlled warehouses, so they get kind of damaged, I think. So I would advise not ordering brushes from Amazon. Not good brushes. I mean, your bulk brushes, stuff you use for terrain or for dry brushing or other things, those are fine. But, you know, your Winsor Newton or your Raphael brushes, stuff like that, your good red sable brushes, I would not advise getting those from Amazon. So we get some reds up in the front. We'll get this kind of a, we're going to kind of go towards this bone color on these too. So it's going to kind of carry this around. But what do I want to do for the head? The head and the skin. I'm wondering if I ought not to go for like some green tones up there. That might be cool. Mightn't it, chat? So what if I get some... Alright, let's try this, chat. If it sucks, we just paint over it, right? Let's see, I want to go kind of a muted green. I don't want a bright green. So I've got this green gray. That looks like it might work pretty well. Let's give that a shot. That's the fun of painting this stuff, is just play with it and see what works. Who dat? It's not important, chat. Don't worry about it. It's fine, chat. Alright, so we've got this green-gray here, which is a really muted greenish tone. So we'll see. Is that too green? I think it might be. Well, maybe not. No. If this is going to be kind of the skin tone, it'll be a good separation from those armor plates. I think. I don't know, chat. Maybe I'm just talking out of my butt here. I think it'll be nice to just bring some color into this thing, though. Honestly. Because, I mean, really, these things are kind of boring. They're just, you know, in the books, in the monster manual, and the images and stuff, they're just, you know, old brown nastiness. Who cares about that? I think this will work. It'll work. It's fine, chat. It's fine, chat. Now, how are we going to blend this out? Because I want to do the mandibles kind of a tannish color. But there's no distinct line here, so we're going to have to kind of blend those out a bit. That's going to be a fun challenge. Right, chat? Also going to have to blend this down into the red a little bit. We're going to be doing all kinds of blending, chat. This might be a 2-week project, because this is quite the model here. Well, that's not what I wanted to do. Am I not putting this in frame there, chat? Am I being stupid again? It's a little difficult to get to. I may have ought to have done this part first, huh? Huh, chat? Why'd you let me do that, chat? Silly chat. Alright, so we're just going to come out a little bit on these mandibles, and then we'll blend those to the colors we need. I think I'm going to go kind of dark on the antennae. 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 Antenna. I don't know. What do you call those, chat? So, looks like we got a little skin here. I'm going to say that's skin because I want to put some of this color down here. So, there. My model, I'll do what I want to with it. You can't stop me, chat. Just try to stop me, chat. I dare you. Can't do it, can you? Nope, nope, nope. That just gives me a little bit of this color down here. Trust me, it's going to be awesome. It's going to be awesome, chat. Now, I realize these coats look pretty garbage. I was going thin in case I wanted to change things. So, we'll do some more coats and get it all smoothed out. Don't worry, chat. You worry too much, chat. Alright. So let's go back. Oh man, I'm about out of that. Back to the red here. So I think these colors can make it interesting without making it weird. I don't know, maybe I am making it weird. I think the legs may be a little light though. That may not be what I wanted to do. But it's fine, chat. We can just paint over it. Don't you worry. Don't you worry. So this part isn't layering, this is base coating. Okay, chat, I don't want you to get confused. I'm just base coating here. So, I don't know, chat, that's a little weird. That green's just a little weird. Not digging that, chat. And I'm not digging the legs being so yellow either. So, we're going to put those back to brown. It's beauty of thin layers of acrylic paint. This is why you thin your paints, because now I can go back over it and I'm not going to cover up all the detail. I think the green's a little much. Right, chat? I know you agree with me. So the beauty of a wet palette is this brown paint is maybe 2 hours old and I can still paint with it. If this were a dry palette, that paint would be dead now. So I would highly advise, when you get to the point of I want to paint minis more and I want to increase my skill level with minis, get a wet palette. Just invest in a wet. You don't need to get one this big. This was a little redonkulous, but they aren't that expensive. You can get a good wet palette. These Masterson wet palettes you can get from Dick Blick for a decent sized one, big enough for mini painting, for 11, 12 bucks, something like that. They aren't that bad, and it's well worth it. You can make your own, but by the time you get the right kind of sponges and experiment with the stuff and get a container that works and all that, you're getting close to that anyway. So, I mean, honestly, for the trouble, I would just buy one. The other thing I'd highly recommend when you get to the point of I want to paint minis more get a good brush. Either a Winsor & Newton Series 7 or this, like a Raphael 8404, and I would start with a size 2. That's what this is, and you can see I haven't changed my brush at all because the tip is really good, and a size 2 holds a good amount of paint in the body of the brush, and it has really those are the two biggest differences from when I started painting to now. And I'm not, like I said, I'm not a Golden Demon painter, but I am starting to get a bit better, I think, to where I can do good tabletop quality. And honestly, I don't have a desire to be competitive with this. Winning a Golden Demon is not a thing that I care about personally. I mean, I think the people that do that are awesome painters, extraordinarily talented, but it's just not a desire I have. So, yeah, I'm not digging the green. It's not cool, chat. So, what do I want to do there? I mean, I don't want it to just be the same as the back. Or do I? Do I? No, I don't. No, I don't, chat. So what do I want to do here? So you can see the wash has really helped kind of blend those colors together a little more. Kind of giving them all the same tone quality and moved them together. As well as kind of deepen the shadows and the recesses there. Not a lot, but it helps a little. So we'll probably go back now and just give ourselves a little bit of edge highlight to see, like this. And I want to keep it kind of broken, so I'm not worrying about getting smooth lines here. I also want to kind of outline the features, as it were. And I'm going to bring this highlight back a little on these top areas. We're basically just doing some edge highlighting here because it gives us more contrast around the edges and helps kind of define, when you're looking at this from the 3-foot view on a table, you want a lot of contrast to help define the shapes on this thing so you can make them out easily. So this isn't exactly edge highlighting because we're bringing it up a little more than the edge, but it's close enough. So you can see the difference between the plates up here and the plates down here where I haven't done that yet. It just makes it a little sharper. Can't do much down here because it's kind of covered by rocks and in shadow and stuff. And we want to make sure we get kind of the back edge here too. Because this will help separate these plates. I hope I'm keeping this where you can see it, chat. I'm trying to. So we want this highlight to go pretty far forward because we want it kind of pointing at the head. I shouldn't say highlight. This isn't really highlighting. This is kind of the natural coloration of this thing. All right, so I think that's looking pretty decent-ish. Still don't know what I want to do with this. This other area here. Because I am not digging having the green on there. I think what we're going to have to do, chat, is go back to brown with that. I'm going to try leaving that just the little very end of his head green and see how that looks. Because I can always just, you know, put some more paint on there if I don't like it. Because maybe this is just too much green. And that's the problem. Which is very possible. Need a little more brown. I just done run out. Oh, there's some right over here. Never mind. I'm fine, chat. mean, I'm pretty satisfied with going, you know, reddish brown on the belly here. I think that's a good idea. But the green, not so much. So, just rebase coating all this stuff, and I'll try seeing how leaving the head, these mandibles under here would be kind of, I'm going to do the mandibles kind of the beigey color, going towards a bone color, but, and so there's mandibles under here too. I just want to see how having just the head as green, if that'd work out. Or if green is just going to suck on this model. I don't know. What do you think, chat? Yeah, I still don't like it. Still don't like it, chat. So I think adding the green on here was just too many different colors on this model. So we'll go a little more subtle with that. We still want most of the focus to be on the face, so we need something that's gonna, I mean, that the face needs to be a little brighter than the other stuff. But what happens if I continue the reddish browns up there? Does that work? I think that'll work. Because it's not a huge color shift. All right, so then the legs, we're gonna go towards this bone color, like the mandibles. So they're gonna be more this color. So we're gonna base just a little darker than this. I think we'll just get a little bit of the brown into this, and that should be dark enough, I think. And then we'll just highlight up a little bit with the legs. How does this color look? Does that look like it's going to be a winner, chat? I think so, because it's not far off. I mean, it's the same colors as back here. So is that going to work? Yeah, I think that'll work okay. And I'll probably, I suspect, that's where the face is going to go. Ooh, my arms are getting a little tired. My brush is getting a little clogged up here. It's going to be time soon, I think, to stop and wash this sucker. Okay. So I'm going to want the mandibles kind of the same color. And these things under here are going to be the same type of thing. That's hard to see under there. It's an odd little area to try to get into. Alright, so we're going to have these. And then I'll just leave the dark brown under there. Right, chat? Sure, Terrainoob. You know everything about painting. You're a painting hero. I'll stop. Alright. Yeah, I think that'll do for the legs, because it's going to help bring these browns around. We'll have a bit of red here. And then we're going to highlight these up, of course. I mean, they're going to stay this color. This is just a base. I just want them to be lighter than the other stuff. And I think we're just going to keep the main skin brown. And we'll just highlight it. But we'll just keep it brown. And then so I'm going to want to do something, because this plate up here, we're going to want to put some, probably pull this color scheme around. And then I got to figure out what I want to do with the antenna. Probably just do like the skin and highlight them in the brown. Thanks, Sid. Making things look creepy. Well, I mean, the sculpt is pretty creepy all on its own, but I'm kind of liking the layer effect there. What time is it? It's 11:30. All right, got a little time. Little time. All right, so yeah, it's more of this. Too much brown. Know what I'm saying, chat? There we go. That's more better. It's kind of a weird color, but I like it. Well, thank you, Sid. I'm sorry it's taking me a while to respond. I gotta switch back and forth between close-up view and being able to read. Old eyes. Boo. I used to could do this stuff without glasses. Not anymore. This is definitely going to be a 2-week project here. We're going to have to finish this one up next week because I can't get through all of it today. That's just not going to happen. We can get a little further, but I'm going to have to extend this project a little bit because, you know, we don't want to rush through it and make it look like crap. Well, more than it already does. This is a weird color. I like weird. I mean, I don't know why it's a weird color. It's just brown and beige. You wouldn't think that would look so odd, but... Or maybe it's just me. I don't know. All right, chat, so you got to let me know. Next week, do you want me to continue working on this and finish this up, or do you want me to just finish it off camera? Or next week, do you want me to get back into some terrain making? Let me know, chat. I'll do whatever you want me to do. Either we finish this up, we do some more work on this next week, or we build some foam farmhouses. Those are my options. Those are your options, chat. Your options. Well, I mean, whatever I like, I mean, sure, but what do you guys want? What do you want to see? Because I can, you know, I like painting minis. I like doing terrain. I've got a million minis I got to paint, and I do want to. I hate to leave things half done, but I can do this during the week. I think that's as far as I'm going to take him today. So what I'm going to do is take last week's little goober, and I painted the base, so we just got to throw some grass on there, and we'll see how he turns out. So let me get some grass. Not that kind of grass, chat. Come on. All right. I mean, that might make this painting more fun, but that's just not a thing I do. A little white glue. All right, Mr. Wet Palette. We be done with you, good sir. Get you out of the way for a minute. Oh, easy, easy. And get a little disposable brush here. Got like 50 of these things for like $2. Pretty nice. I mean, they're cheap brushes, but for glue, that's what you want, right? So we've got this. I didn't cut this little thing off of here. I don't know if you guys can see that very well. The little attach the umbilical cord here between the ground and his hand, because I wanted to see if I could disguise that with some stuff. Normally, I mean, I think you would just cut that out, but I wanted to see what could be done here with some disguisey things. So we're gonna find out. I think it'll work just fine. It's fine, chat. Alright, so I've just got some scenic turf. It's kind of a mixed color. It's got some yellows and greens and oranges in it. And we're just going to do a little dab and smack. You know the dab and smack, Sid. The old dab and smack. Alright, so, I mean, I think that disguises that pretty well. I can't even see the thing, and I'm right here. From a 3-foot view, never going to notice. So just a little grass. So, you can disguise it. I'll throw some Instagram pics up of this so it's better views. But, there he is. Now, one thing, I think, if I were to do this model again, I wouldn't do red cloth, because it just makes, there's way too much red on this side because of the tail, and there's not enough focus on the face, so the focus is all going this way. So I don't, not really jazzed about using the red clothing here. I probably would have done either like a leather, something kind of neutral, or something in the green tone. I think would have been better, but yeah, I don't really like to go back and paint models, so or repaint models, so we'll just use that as learning for next time. I mean, I kind of like how this tail worked by itself. I think that's kind of a neat effect, what happened there. I'm also pretty happy with the flint tools. I think those came out okay, but tail's glorious. Yeah, I do like it. I like how that really subtle lining in there and the color just came out good, I think. It's just that red, the red clothing is just kind of throwing this whole thing out of balance. I don't know. Maybe that's just me. But, you know, live and learn. That's kind of the whole point of painting minis, is to learn how to get better with the next things. All right, so I think next week I'll work on finishing this up. Now that we've got a kind of a plan, I'm going to think a little bit about what I want to do with the head area up here to kind of bring focus to it, and how I'm going to do that. But today was mostly about the layering. That's what I wanted to concentrate on. That's what I wanted to practice. And I think it can be better. Sure. I could take another 2 hours and spend more time on it. But for a tabletop thing, that's probably more than sufficient, I think. So we'll work on some more layering next time and some color blending and see if we can get the reds blended up here so we have a little bit of more color in this model. And then I'll probably bring reds up into here too, just to kind of bring the focus forward on this. Anyway, that's what we'll do next week. And then the week after that, we'll get into doing some more terrain. So, hope you guys enjoyed that. Thanks for coming and hanging out with me. If you did enjoy that and you're seeing this on YouTube, please give us a like and subscribe and comment. If you're here with me on Twitch, hey, give us a follow. We like it. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Thank you very much for hanging out. We will be back next Saturday we'll finish this up, this dude. I hope y'all have a great week. Make sure you mash all the buttons, ding all the bells. YouTube, Yep, that's what I said. YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, Twitch, and Instagram. And until next time, paint on.